going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are back in the shop with Seth, Kyle, and our aspiring motorcycle racer here, Benjamin. Show him which hand to use to turn the throttle. Throttle, bud. No, there you go. Good job, you had it right here. But while he's over here practicing, running through the shop, making a bunch of noises. But anyways, we're back in the shop with these guys. We're going to be doing some more work on our Manco project. See, we got the engine pulled back off. We got the cage pulled off it as well. I'm going to get these guys set up. We're going to go ahead and get this rear axle out of there. Also get this rear drum brake assembly off. Figure out what is going on. Hopefully it just broke a keyway. But we'll see what it's going to take to get this thing to be a live axle again. Also here's our mechanical caliper and rotor for our disc brake setup. Went ahead and got some new belts for the torque converter. And between all that linkage and these cables, I'm sure we can come up with something to get our pedals hooked up, get this thing fired up, and hopefully, got my fingers crossed, at least get a test ride around the yard with these guys this time around. Let them have a little bit of fun before we pull it back apart and continue on with cutting things off the frame, welding in some new pieces. So, but anyways, like I said, I'm gonna get these guys all set up, get these rear tires and wheels off, get this axle out of there, and get that engine plate cut off so we can move it back and get that thing fit up. So, here we go. All right, got the axle out. You saw there, Seth went ahead and got her out. Also, we tried to, I didn't notice before, but there was nothing holding these bearings on, so I'm assuming it was like the couple thousand smaller and they were press fit on, because there's no lock screws or collars or nothing holding these bearings on. And because of all the rust and everything that was on there, they just really did not want to cooperate. So, saw there, I took my little cutoff wheel, cut it at an angle, allowed it to slide right off. Of course, I also went ahead, used a little fiber wheel on the end of my angle grinder, knocked off a bunch of the rust to kind of help polish the axle a little bit so we can get that old drum brake off. And well, you can see other people have worked on this thing as well. They got a piece of metal right there, just kind of welded into place to keep that drum from moving. And you see right here at the keyway there, grab a little paper towel, clean that up. They've just used a screwdriver or a punch and rolled the little edge over with the hammer there to help keep that keyway in place, which is fine. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But now I'm missing a bearing, so me and Seth are going to go to the Tractor Supply. We're going to go find ourselves another bearing and race. But before I do that, also going to finish cutting this engine plate off. Already got 3 of the 4 spots cut. Actually thinking we're going to let Seth over there, we're going to get him to cut the last weld off right here. Now basically all you got to do is just come up along the side of this plate, cut straight down, because it doesn't really look like it goes that far down. All the other ones broke right away once I got past the edge of our little steel there. So I'm going to video him cutting that off. Once we get it cut off, I'll go ahead and mock it up about 1.5 to 2 inches back. Grab the engine, grab the engine, set it up there, see how much room we got before we take off and go get another bearing. But let's get that thing cut off and see where we're at. All right, engine plate was cut off. Seth did an exceptional job, by the way.
Thanks.
And we've gone ahead and put it up there, tack welded into place. I've got these little welds on just 4 corners, one there, one behind our torque converter. And we'll show you here. So we got one there and one there. Now you come up front, you can see this is where it sat originally. We left that weld on the front side there, kind of give me a reference on how far to move it back. And that is roughly between 1.5 inches and 2 inches. Now because I moved it back so far, or here, before I show you that, here it is, almost pushed all the way up front. It's right up against the seat frame there. We got plenty of clearance between our exhaust and the seat frame. Now when I came down here, we did notch the frame. And I just cut a little section out of the frame there, cut a piece out of some flat stock, welded it back in. So I do have a little bit of grinding left to do so I can get it all smooth. But now that allows me to get all my adjustment coming back. Like I said, I still have to grind that out. That's not as tapered as this side. But it gives me about all the adjustment I need. So we're gonna finish cleaning that out. That way I don't have any interference with our torque converter there. And then we'll go ahead and put the axle back in. We did manage to go to our Tractor Supply, picked up a new bearing for the left side. Got a new bearing and we got some keyways, so we can put a keyway back in to get that other wheel turning. Turns out that was all that was missing. That's why it just spun on the axle. So, but now we got all that. I'm gonna finish cleaning that up, and then have Seth over here. We'll get the axle put back in, try to get it centered up, get the disc brake mocked up as well, and then see what kind of clearance we have for the chain. But yeah, anyways, let's get the axle back in, get everything fitted before we finish welding up our engine plate. All right, so we cleaned up our little notch in the frame, got the engine mounted back on, and went ahead and put the axle up in place. Kind of did some test fitting, centering up a couple things. Let me show you what our frame looks like. So there's the notch, pretty smoothed out. Could use a couple final touches, but other than that, she's cleaned up pretty nice. And it also gives us plenty of room to slide our belt over onto the torque converter there if we ever, or when the time comes to change the torque converter belt out. And that way you don't have to loosen the engine, slide the engine forward, then change the belt out and then retension your chain. Chain can stay right where it's at. And that is another thing I want to show you guys. We got the chain on as well. She's rolling through pretty smooth. Now I might have to, see if I can get in there. She is coming a little bit close to our case there, but it is pretty snug. It doesn't bounce around a whole lot. Right now, we are, however, going to fire this thing up. I'm going to go ahead and just double check the alignment of our torque converter belt. Put the belt on, fire the engine up, make sure that everything functions on the back here the way it's supposed to. Matter of fact, when we put this axle in, it was probably over an hour ago. I've been playing with centering it up. It's been kind of a pain in the butt because, like I said earlier, somebody's been in here, they welded to the axle. I had to cut another piece off, clean it up a little bit, that way we can get a keyway back in it. Anyways, I can go on and on and on. So, but I am going to give the phone or the camera over to Seth. He's going to do some more recording. We're going to double check the alignment of our torque converter belt, and then we're going to fire this thing up. What do you got there, bud? We're going to fire this thing up and make sure our torque converter functions the way it's supposed to. So, here you go, bud.
Thank you.
Come on down here. I know a lot of guys, or a lot of you out there might know that you want to make sure that the backing here is lined with the backing here. I just used this guy to line it up. I did have to do a little bit of moving around, but that's about as close as I got it, so you can see there. And if you need to shim it out, they got little shims. You can put it in there. That way you can shim this out where you need it. I probably wouldn't advise going any more than the 1/2 inch that they got there. If you need to move something around a little bit more, you can. I had to pull the jack shaft off, pull a 1/4 inch in to move this pulley in. But anyways, always make sure that these two line up. And for anyone that doesn't know, these belts are directional. You'll see if it's an actual belt, it'll say to engine and have an arrow, and that's because the flat side rides the flat side. And then this is kind of tapered. It rides the taper in here because as the engine RPM speeds up, this will come up. This gets skinnier, this gets bigger, so it allows it to ride. Anyways, we're gonna see that here in a second. So I did do a lot of cleaning up on this thing as well. There's just so much rust. It looked like it hadn't been used, or it hadn't been used in a really, really long time. So I did have to do a lot of cleanup on it. This little bushing was still in surprisingly good shape though, so that's a plus. And I just put a little bit of grease there. I don't know how much to put there, but I figured a little bit wouldn't hurt. Get that guy riding up in there. We got this little guy here. Make sure it rides like that. I had to do a lot of cleanup in here because this was all rusted. Pretty good, so. I don't know if it gets grease or anything. This is kind of like my first time even playing with one of these torque converters, but I'm just putting a really, really, really thin coat on there just to kind of give it something to slide on. So I don't want it flinging out all over the place because chances are if it gets on the belt, then the belt won't work like it's supposed to. Put some in there because this all slides. There we go. All right. Goes on there fairly well. Put this guy on. Yeah, this little guy here has been loose. She looks a little wore out, so definitely gonna have to change this up here in the future. See, there's pretty sure it's supposed to be uniform, but looks like it's been loose for a long time. So I don't know how long it'll last, but it should work out for us right now. handy. Yeah. Cool. I know it's got gas. Turn the choke on. Let's see. All right, so we got it fired up. It is running. I actually ended up putting the wheels back on it because I needed Seth to kind of hold back on it for me. I didn't want the axle just freewheeling. So we put the wheels on it so we had something to grab a hold of. Also went ahead and cleaned up the carburetor a little bit and used some of the old linkage that I had over there in that box. Show you guys what I did here. I just cut this end out, kind of gave it some room. Took one of the old solid pieces there. Let's see. Like here's the other half of it. Cut that off, bent it up. Now took one of these guys here, this little guy, flipped it upside down to put underneath here, and as you can see as well, clearance that also. Then bent it that way, so now we have throttle linkage. And the Predator throttle linkage, it comes with all these pieces, but it's hooked to the governor and the throttle's on a spring. So when you pull the governor out, well, the throttle is not supposed to work how it's supposed to. And I put this throttle on there, trying to, and I forgot to, I had to remake the little linkage pieces. So, but everything that's on there right now is just kind of a modified version of its original parts. So, but we got that taken care of. Throttle works correctly now. Wheels are on so we can hold it back. I'm actually going to fire this thing up now, let it idle, and show you guys the function of our torque converter. Make sure it works like it's supposed to. So, come here, Seth. Say hi.
Hello.
All right, so Seth's going to video us. Finally got this thing started. Go ahead and flick it back on. Make sure, yep, we're good to go. Let it idle for a second. And of course, it's gonna make a liar out of it. Cool deal. So we got it running. It's now idling on its own, so that's a big plus. I actually haven't ran that engine in quite some time. Well, probably with at least a good few months. So it's nice to know that we got it idling again. It's good to see that our torque converter is functioning like it's supposed to. So as you guys can see, it is actually pretty dark outside, and I kind of stuck my foot in my mouth when I said I wanted to get this thing to a point to where we could take it for a test drive. But as of right now, that is not looking like it's going to happen. It may have if I didn't have to fight the axle, aligning things, cleaning up, I know better. I should have not said that. So, but we got it up to this point. I still have to, I got to pull everything apart again to finish welding our engine plate, because it is only tacked in those 4 corners. And I did all this to make sure I had the alignment correct. Made sure I had enough room for the chain. Made sure that our torque converter would line up like it's supposed to. Kind of take care of anything that I would need to take care of as of fitment issues. Right now, like I showed you guys, the chain is pretty good. You can see our fuel tank is just barely touching. Actually, I can probably move the engine back just a tad bit more, since running it feels like our chain is loosened up a little bit. So I don't have anything holding the engine in place, and I just snugged the engine up by hand. So I got a little bit more room to slide it back a little bit, but it is, when I tightened it up earlier, you could probably fit 4 or 5 pieces of paper in there. So it's a snug fit, but I'm glad that we could do this. I didn't have to relocate a fuel tank or build any, just trying to keep it as simple as possible for these guys. That way they don't have to worry about it. If we blow up this engine, I can just go grab another engine, throw an engine on there, but it's all to have fun. For this guy over here to learn something. So probably the next thing we do when we come out here is, like I showed you earlier, it had that welded piece on there. Spin it around. We went ahead and cut that out and cleaned it up, so it is no longer welded. I got room where we can slide this thing back and forth, so we can position that guy in a good spot. Build a bracket so we can hook up our brake caliper, and hopefully by that video we'll have this thing far enough along where we'll have the throttle cable hooked up and the brake as well. I did it, like I said, I expected to have this farther along today so we could take it for a quick rip around the yard, but that didn't work. So better luck next time. Anyways, I'm gonna end this video right here. I gotta get cleaned up because I gotta go out. And hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it this far, please hit that subscribe button for me. Turn on notifications. Again, I'm still waiting on a couple more little things for this car, so we can continue on with a few things I have planned. I'm almost got enough parts in where I can just go ahead and start installing what I have. But like I said, just a couple more little things I'm waiting on. Then we can get going on installing a bunch of neat little goodies for that. Anyways, like I said, I'm going to end this video right here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that subscribe button for me. Share with your friends. Turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any more videos. I'll catch y'all next one.